No, I double that right back to you, Phil. My name is Ron Babich. I am the CRO of Hammertech, a company that is based out of Australia, many miles away from Arizona. However, though, we've tackled the US just recently in the last couple of years and making a big impact here. I personally have been in the capital project space and field space for about 15 years and have been lucky to have been part of a bunch of really great projects. So I'm excited to be here, and I'm super excited about what Phil's put together for this venue as well. I'll tell you a little bit about Hammertech and a little bit about the numbers that we want to share today. So Hammertech is an operational and safety platform, typically responsible for inspections, permits, surrounding the worker with orientation, training materials that are mobile out in the field, right? So they have access to everything. The best benefit probably around Hammertech is its ability to manage subcontractors kind of all the way through. It plays really nice with PreQual and everything else out there, and it's very unique in the space in terms of managing inspections, managing permits, and really getting a good handle on subcontractors. The numbers that I'm going to share with you today, I'm going to share a little bit about, probably at the end, I'll pop into Hammertech and kind of show you some of the actual application. I put this presentation together with the team to share some insight and some of the things that have been already mentioned in terms of our industry of where we're at, but kind of wanted to talk about how we think things are and then the reality of where we see things in real life in these projects. So a couple of things to take away for today. Areas that have the largest job site and project impact, that we think that we're seeing on actual projects from a mobile perspective at Hammertech, also detailed by verticals. So which verticals kind of have the biggest opportunity? Certainly there's a difference between leaders and laggards in our industry in terms of who's kind of really out there leading the cause, and we're lucky enough to work on a bunch of projects that have a lot of leaders out there. And then, of course, there's also the slow-moving ones behind us as well too. But this presentation, with all of the noise that you could kind of possibly imagine around mobile and digital and everything else, we wanted to focus on the top 5 areas of what's real, what we're kind of seeing the actual impact of. So taking theory, but taking the actual results and seeing where we're actually at. So first and foremost, there's still a lot of opportunity for industry, as you're aware. It's really only 18% of the entire industry that's consistently using mobile use of project data as of last year, from that perspective. So I mean, a lot of room for growth, obviously. We're also, and just got brought up a second ago on the last presentation, productivity wise, we're still kind of right at the bottom of at least we're perceived to be, and there is some truth to that. The 1% productivity growth versus the rest of the industries outside of construction out there. So I think it's a positive thing, not a negative thing in terms of growth. It's one of those things that we can take advantage of. And yeah, year after year, it seems like it never changes. The numbers kind of go up and down a little bit, but the average schedule run reported last year was on average about 20%. So we're still not beating on average schedules. We're still overrunning by schedules. So hopefully some of the things we talk about today and some of the findings that we have at Hammertech with the operational safety platform we're on kind of help that cross the finish line faster. The next one's really about 41% of construction U.S. workforce is retiring. And we've been talking a lot about that even for the last 10 years in terms of the senior workforce. So that's kind of a broken record, but it's still one of those things that ties into some of the things we're going to talk about in a second, of putting the knowledge into the application versus trying to hopefully transition that over when we have a retiring workforce. And then, again, the opportunity, 53% of large GCs utilize software for safety inspection, specifically a lot of the things that we do here at Hammertech. So from our perspective, it's again, a lot of opportunity for us to double that number and get to where it's the majority of GCs utilizing electronic applications to assist out in the field. So there's still a big opportunity. So even though it's 2021, it's interesting just how low that still is. So the doom and gloom of it all is there's, light at the end of this tunnel. So let's talk about what we're actually doing, what we're actually seeing. And this is kind of like the Casey Kasem countdown, 5 to 1. So starting with number 5 of the things that are actually happening, the things that we actually see, and the results that we actually kind of get out of it. But efficiency and productivity is like right up at the top. So understanding and getting the actual real-time task completion back from the field to the office, understanding our planned tasks versus actual tasks in terms of hours and quantities. It's such a big deal to see those actual results. Understanding, and this is a huge one, especially for subcontractors, is getting the workflow documents in the hands of temporary workers and all workers that are on the job site, so that those documents are following them around, saving a lot of time, a lot of mistakes, a lot of errors that may happen, have they not have access to that stuff. And then the last one is really just the overall supplier management, not just for managed deliveries, but really getting a handle on the suppliers. So you're connecting the supplier as part of the environment. And that all adds up to, and we've got some really great case studies internally at Hammertech, but 43% improved productivity. So it's real stuff. We're really seeing it. And those are the areas that we see kind of the top of the food chain. Number 4 on the countdown is the proactive pre-qual managed risks. So getting ahead of the job site on getting orientations out before those workers arrive, doing the training before and automating it when they get here, so that we're not spending 4 hours or 2 hours. We're cutting that thing down to half or even 25% of what the normal time it takes to actually do that same kind of information. Site documents I mentioned just a second ago, but such a big deal to create a workflow that attaches those site documents along the workflow process, so that as the work's being done, as new work packages are being implemented, the site documents are following along. And probably the biggest outcome, and the reason for the 51% on the faster start times for us, is those on-time starts happen on time versus getting delayed because the information's not there. So a pretty big deal. And this is a big one, even though it's number 4 on this countdown, it's a big deal for us. And this is could be really number 1, but the reduced insurance premiums that we see in terms of the insight on the data and the electronic tracking of the actual work types that are doing, coming from 2 different levels, right? The state and local compliance level, so that we're getting reduction in rates on insurance premiums when we're tracking specifically the type of work that is being done, so that we can improve our ratings. And the second thing is working by activity for workers' comp, just in general, especially here in the United States. And the average we see from customers is 15 to 35% on a premium reduction. So it's a big deal. Could be number 1, I have it as number 3, but a big deal. And those are actual things that we're seeing right now. They're making an impact to the bottom line. The big thing as well too is the reduction in injuries and accidents, just safety in general, by subcontractors across multiple sites, when we are able to get the details into the system in terms of what the workers are supposed to do. So the avoidance of injury, the avoidance of accidents by 61%, because we're tracking at a level, and the increased orientations and trainings have a huge impact on what we're doing. And then number 1 would be on-time planning and scheduling. And the interesting thing is, Hammertech itself is not a scheduling platform. However, it's interesting because the information that we provide to other systems and to the project team helps create more accurate schedules, helps provide more accurate estimates when we're talking about permits, inspections being done on time, helps our portfolio management be more accurate, obviously helps our value calculations that are being done. And then the big one is probably winning jobs and more profit. So that's that integration to providing that kind of information is a big deal. So to kind of sum up all that stuff, it all adds up, and there's a lot of numbers and a lot of percentages, but those are the real things that we're seeing out in the field. On a typical product or project, just for fun, when you look at like a $300 million project at 3% mil pre-tax margin, even a 5%, and we talked a lot about productivity on some big numbers, but even a small, tiny 5% increment on productivity sees a 17% margin increase. So even though they kind of seem like small things, it's like that Atomic Habits book, they have like a big impact at the end of the day, because even the margins are so small, as we all know, from a project perspective, that tiny 5% productivity makes such a big difference. Let me pop over real quick and I'll show you, let me show you quickly, I'll show you just a real quick peek into the dashboard that we have in the software. So inside of Hammertech, there's a customizable, should say configurable dashboard here, where we see all of the upcoming services, expired licenses, insurance. And I mentioned getting a better handle on managing subcontractors. This is the thing that the GCs love the most, the owners love the most, is that now I can have the same subcontractor on a project moving from project to project, and they don't have to go through all the certification process again, all of their licensing, all of their certifications, the expirations, who's qualified, what are they qualified to be on, are they currently active? If I'm on the job site right now, who's here right now that's eligible, that can do this particular type of work? All that information is available from the dashboard here, along with the mobile application. And then we kind of take a look through here as these are the details of what employers are actually active with us right now. And then also sending out bulletins to all of our subcontractors so that we can increase that communication from the field to them as well too. And essentially just a better communication between the field and the back office on our ability to better manage that project. And then of course, integrating with other things like PreQual and P6 and ERP solutions. So that's what I wanted to share today. My name is Ron Babich. Again, unless you didn't like this presentation, then my name is Rick Deans, who is actually on next. And so you can think of me as Rick Deans if you didn't like this.
Rick can join us by turning on his camera if he wants. But Ron, that was a great overview. And thank you for doing the live software demo, because that makes all the difference. This is a geeky audience, and we like to see the software. And I love your graphic design taste. I just really like the countdown format of how you have your list of the main problems that you're solving in order to set the scene. And these are the problems that we're hearing about again and again and again. And I guess if I had to point to one of the biggest problems, it's the small margins, because if the profitability ain't there, it's not much you can do really. So.
Yeah, amen. No, that's great. Thanks a lot, Phil. I really appreciate it. Thanks for having us on today. This has been terrific.
No, I appreciate you sponsoring the event, and your video will be in our library for the next indefinite future, and we'll be encouraging people to watch that. So thank you, Ron.
Awesome. Thanks a lot.